So, sir, what inspired you to become a filmmaker? Because I've seen you have done your master's from IIT Madras. So, please.
I mean, if you look at it academically, I really don't have a filmmaking background. I think, but that speaks about how much of a personal inspiration or an intrinsic inspiration it is, and it has been. So, what inspired me, I think, was just the at the very beginning, it was the experience of watching a film, any film, and the joy it can bring, the medium can bring to an audience. In fact, the first film I ever saw with my parents was some commercial Bollywood film, which was probably a major disaster. It was a terrible film, but back in third standard, I enjoyed it so much. The whole experience of just going to theaters and getting immersed in this fictional world, and that's where it all began. And then I started, of course, exploring cinema more. Uh, uh, Initially, of course, my early years in films was all mainstream Hindi films, Bollywood, and all of that. So, and I think Bollywood mainstream has always had this idea of romanticizing things and making them larger than life. If you are in love, you are falling down a slope, you are singing on the roads. If you are doing action, you are, pulling all the vegetable carts and breaking buildings and doors. So it's always larger than life, over the top. So that sort of, that amazes you, that way of looking at film that also makes you think that okay, wow, that just wows you at times how it is. And then, but then I started looking at indie cinema more as I grew up. I started reading interviews. I think back in 10th standard when I saw so I came across I used to read the columns of the film columns in newspapers that used to come out, and I read about this film called Ship of Theseus that has come, and I was in ninth standard at that time by Anand Gandhi, and there was just one small column on it, whereas the rest of the paper was occupied with glamorous interviews and all that. But that really caught my eye, and it was there uh, twice or thrice a week, and it was releasing. So I sneaked out at night with my brother and went to a night show to watch this film, which is completely in an empty theater. And that just changed my perception about films in general. That moment of sneaking out of house and watching Ship of Theseus, and that changed my view of films. That's then I started exploring more of what Anurag Kashyap is doing, which is still a little in the mainstream, and Ship of Theseus was way more indie. But still, the struggle that indie filmmakers are having to not dominate, to even get a foot in the commercial space. I started relating with that in college. I started getting introduced to European cinema a little more, started seeing some world cinema. And then, I think a lot of, so far, I mean, as I said when you approached me, that I'm not an established filmmaker, so I don't know how much I have to contribute to this. But as someone who's still in the journey and still really figuring it out and probably going through transformations every 2 or 3 years in his understanding of films, I think I have been through phases where, I would call, I think if I look back, I would call myself pretentious at one point, to act as someone who has seen Tarkovsky's films and, just the classic,
So, when you thought you want to become a filmmaker, like during your graduation, or you like?
yeah. So no, this was actually, honestly, this was when I saw my first film. I thought that I wanted, like, back in third standard. When I saw it, I knew it, that this is what this is. You have that one moment that okay, this is what I want to do in my life. And then, of course, that was a childish thought at some point. Then it became a passion, an obsession, and then you start to figure out how to do it. So that is when it started back then.
Okay, then you did your graduation in? Which course?
So I did my graduation in economics. Again, all of my college life, in fact, junior, what do you call it, 11, 12 standard, they were about, I was going for engineering, but then I realized that that is, the step is to figure out what you don't have to do. So, and then there was a battle of, do I tell my parents about my cinematic inspirations and ambitions? Because I come from a completely non-filmy family, so we have no idea of how a film is made or what the film industry looks like, and there's a lot of taboo around it also at some point. So um, I had a difficult time convincing myself to tell my parents that this is what I want to do. So I started finding alternative paths that would at least take me away from things that will take me completely away from cinema, like engineering or sciences might have. I thought at that point. So economics and mass communication was like my go-to. So that's what I graduated in, and then towards the end of that, I did tell my parents that I want to be a filmmaker. But at that time, and they were completely happy about it. They were completely okay with it. I even gave entrance exams in film schools, got in, uh, not in FTII, in some in a few private schools. I'd gotten Whistling Woods and the others, which have relatively higher fees. But this happened way later, uh, towards the end of my graduation. Uh, by that time, I had also been preparing for CAT, for MBA, and right when I had offer letters from all these film schools, I also got my CAT score, which turned out to be pretty good somehow, and I managed to get into IIT Madras. So I and my parents were, uh, I would say, amazing enough to keep both the offer letters in front of me and say that you decide what do you want to do. And at that point, I really can't get into the why I chose IIT, but something told me that maybe this is a better decision, uh, and I took that, and I don't regret it because I think what I've learned, as I said, that it's a lot about how your perspective towards life can shape, and I think IIT helped me in those 2 years of living with a diverse bunch of people independently really changed a lot of things for me. So that is how it happened. After MBA, I started working, but during MBA only, I made autumn leave. So, right, I did a 2 month certification course. After I chose IIT, I had a gap of, after I graduated, I had 2, 3 months before I could officially start. So I said that let's do a 2 month certification course from somewhere in Pune only. And that was fascinating. It was literally like, have you seen the film English to English?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yes, I have.
yeah. So in that, how Sridevi is when she goes to the English classes. It was that overwhelming for me those 2 months of course because my professor Pankaj Roy sir, he's a Bengali film director. He was insane. He was, literally, he would scream at the top of his voice, tell us what films is. He would show us films and make us analyze it. Like they were in those 2 months, there used to be like those classes were just 2 or 3 days a week, but they would be 4 to 5 hour long classes. It would be completely irrational. The syllabus, the way of teaching, nothing that a sane person would sit through and be like, wow, I'm learning. But all of us went through, Pankaj Roy's shenanigans, and he gave us a few assignments as well. But man, that guy like really introduced me to filmmaking, and he taught me how to study films as a filmmaker, uh, and not as an audience. So started bringing me towards behind the camera, and then the minute aspects of it, like production detail, the sets. We used to study Sanjay Leela Bhansali's films a lot, like Devdas, minor things like the the setup of the plate that in which the food is being served. So, as an audience, you probably overlook that. But when you realize that, okay, in filmmaking, there is so much more that goes in to create something like just a song sequence like a Dola Re, how much goes into that. So, so yeah, those 2 months really changed my life. I made my first assignment was a 1 minute short film, a 1 minute single short film, and it's still on YouTube. You can probably looking up. It's called An Essence of Cinema, and making that just opened the doors in my mind, which whatever were closed. I was like, okay. Uh, I mean, I got some belief in myself that I could do this, and I got a lot of motivation that this is what I want to do in life. How I go about it is a different question. Yeah, and then I made another short film as an assignment of that course, which I do not talk about because it's very bad. But I shot that film, and it was like I had 1 day of shoot left, and next day I had to join IIT. So I gathered my friends, and I was like, we have to wrap it up, and then I edited it in my own sweet time overnight. Learning editing. So it taught me a lot working on that film, working on the music and all that. So that was fun. And then Autumn Leaf happened during IITs.
Okay. Okay. So before making Autumn Leaf and while you were learning in the course, did you assisted somewhere or did you work as an AD somewhere?
No, honestly, I've not assisted yet anywhere.
So let's talk about Autumn Leaf. Currently it's on YouTube, like you know that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It was on Hotstar for a year, and only very soon. I mean, I think last month only it was taken off Hotstar. No, that's a different conversation altogether. But uh, but yeah, it is on YouTube. It's a Hamara movie. How Autumn Leaf happened was, so right after I made so when I took the decision of doing MBA, it was with a firm promise to myself that I'm not going away from films, but I'll figure that path out on my own. The other options that I had just did not look financially viable enough at that point. Um, so, so I like you know even when I was doing an intensive course like MBA, I would always, in my free time, be devoting all my energy to coming up with some scripts or studying films or writing screenplays or something. And I was trying to come up with a short film idea or some kind of film idea. But I was really struggling. And one day, my brother, Apur, my younger brother, he's a literature student. Currently, he's doing his PhD in English literature. So he used to write a lot of poetry, and he sent me one short story that he had written, and that blew my mind. And that was the story of Autumn Leaf. So I said that okay, if I have to make my first official short film, it has to be this. Now again, at that point, I had whatever I'd done in my assignments, as part of my student films, they were all they were not done with a professional film crew. They were done with friends, shot over DSLRs, edited over cracked Premiere Pros, using some music was composed within hostel rooms, and tracks were done like that. So tracks were mixed, just very amateur. So I did not really have an idea of how a professional film set looks like. And then when I started putting Autumn Leaf together, gathering the crew around, then I realized how difficult and expensive it is to have cinema as a passion. And I told my dad that I would need some investment help from you. I've never asked you anything. This is one big investment I want from you. And he did not realize what this big investment would be. But even I did not realize back then. I was like, I thought it will take some X amount, but it takes a lot more. So, still, Autumn Leaf came together. I knew that there was the character of Dadu, which Prakash Belawadi plays in the film, if you have seen it. and that he's the focal point of the film. So while I had my other characters, other casting done for Dadu, I had multiple names in mind, and I knew that I wanted a professional actor for this. Not just because I need to work with a big name, but because the gravity that the character wants, it can't be a first timer. You need a professional actor. And then I started reaching out to a few names, like some veteran actors that you can think of. Neeraj Kabi was really on top of my list. It's still a dream to work with him. Raghuveer Yadav was on top of my list. Again, it's a dream to work with him. But those could not happen. But Prakash Villaradi sir, when I got his mail ID, I dropped him a cold mail with one pager about the script, and I dropped my number, and he called back the next day, and he said that, "Hey, young man, this sounds interesting. Can you take me through the script?" I told him a little brief over call, and he said, "Why don't you come to Bangalore?" And he stays in Bangalore, so he asked me to come for Bangalore for a narration. I went, I met him. He was very humble, very, very sweet. Uh, Sometimes just things align. And he loved the script. More than anything, I think he loved the character. And he was in a zone where he wanted to work with some youngsters. So, timings just turn out to be right. So he came on board. But uh, after he said yes to me, next day his manager called me to set up the timings and all, and then he said that okay, Prakash's fees would be this per day, and that was honestly double of my total production budget. And I was like, I'm really sorry, man, I can't afford it. So I lost hope, but I called Prakash sir directly, and he eventually agreed to do it pro bono. Uh, just because he wanted to do it and he had some free time. So again, that worked out well. It and then things came together. It took a lot of time for me to put Autumn Leaf together. Even after the shoot, uh, we shot in Bangalore in Blossom's library, which is a very popular library there. So again, through it's a very popular bookstore. So through a friend, I got one floor of Blossoms to shoot for a couple of days, and but after the shoot was done, we shot for 4 days, I think. After then, the real troubles began because whatever money I had asked for was consumed in the production. So the post was more than anything a financial challenge. But and then I was interning somewhere. I took up some extra jobs while I was studying and just got up some money and completed the film over. It took me 6 months to complete a 20-minute film, but that's okay, I think. I mean, it took its time. As I said, things from what I've learned, I think I will say this multiple times that things take their own time. Times you just need to keep trying. So, but finally, Autumn Leaf came together. It came across as a when I saw the first cut, I was like, what have I made? After all these efforts, because on set, I mean, if I have to talk about production, uh, I didn't have an EP, I didn't have a production crew. I had my parents doing catering, I had my a couple of friends doing a little bit of art. We actually had no hair and makeup also. We were doing it ourselves. We had no costume. I mean, I really do not know how we pulled that off, because now when I work on ad films and stuff, and I have all resources, all HODs working with me. But at that time, I did not sleep for 4 days when I was shooting that film, and I think a lot of our crew did not. But thankfully, I had such wonderful people: Mani, my DOP, Raghav, the sound guy. The whole team were so driven to make this film happen that they would work extra time. They would really not crib about it, and they were all technically so sound that they would want to spend an extra 30 minutes to get that light right and make it right. So that was commendable. Um, it had a good festival run. Prakash sir was also kind enough to get us a screening at Suchitra Theatre in Bangalore, like a premiere of sorts, in which he invited his industry friends. He in fact invited Girish Karnad for it, the great Girish Karnad. And Girish Karnad sir wrote to me on mail saying that I'm very sorry that I won't be able to attend the premiere because of health issues, and he could not come. But that mail is still, it's like something that I would like to frame and keep. And then Pottenleaf eventually it came on Hamara movie. It got a lot of screenings. It had a really good festival run. I think because people liked it. Eventually, uh, it 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 also had a very impactful message. It was a socio-political film, a theme that people get inspired by. I mean, I won't say inspired by, but it inspires them to question the status quo. So I think those things worked in favor of it. Um, and without any PR or anything, I got a lot of film festival recognition, and I made a lot of friends on these festivals who still are great friends. And then after I think 3 years or so, last year in January, I got a chance to put it on Hotstar, and this January it was off Hotstar. So, but it's still out there on YouTube.
Yes. Like I want to ask, like, how big was the crew? How many members were there while making Autumn Leaf?
I think it was a crew of 18 to 20 odd people.
Oh, everybody was like friends or like professionals.
No, no. So the camera team had, I think, 4 or 5 people. There were no friends, in fact. I mean, just the cast. The guy who plays Gunjan, the lead in the film. He's a friend, Bappaditya Sarkar. He's himself. He's now an indie filmmaker. He's a poet. He's a theater actor. And in those assignment films, that student films that I was doing, I used to call him up as an acting mentor to help my friends, because at that time I was working with friends. So Bappa was a friend. The girl who plays Pyari, Isha, she is my very close friend. So the cast is all friends, but the crew was all professionals. It was all a set of professionals. We had sync sound, so we had a big sound team also.
So as you said that Prakash was there. So while approaching him, like while directing him, did you get feel like he's a really senior actor? Like he may like
Yeah.
get.
So honestly, if I tell you about the first day of the shoot, everything that could go wrong went wrong. We had a 9 a.m. call time at Blossoms, and I mean, as I said, you realize later that direction is one thing and production should be kept completely out of it. So I did not know it at that time. So while 9 a.m. was the call time, because I had food to manage, I had crew to manage, I had logistics to manage. I myself reached at I think 8:55 on set, and because everything was on me, people were calling me constantly, and Prakash sir was there at 8:45, and then we started setting it up. But he was very sweet. He was just in the bookstore reading books. He was very sweet. So luckily, Bappa, Isha, and my brother Apur, who was assisting me, also he's a writer. So all three of them kept Prakash sir occupied in a lot of political, intellectual, philosophical, social conversations. So they just kept talking and debating with this with this old intellectual fellow that they had got company of. So, but the first shot when we reached, it was supposed to start at 10. Um, we realized that we had a camera fuck up. The camera was not working. Then we had to call the rental place, get it again, and all that. And the first shot started at 12. And Prakash sir was, he was still maintaining his calm. But towards the end, I could sense him getting a little angry and a little frustrated. He might be regretting his decision that who are these youngsters I have started working with. But he was uh, he was amazing in the sense that he did not make it look like he is the most experienced person and take over the set in that way, because of course. as a director, it would be very difficult for me to say no to him for anything. You know, so he did not interfere. He let me have the freedom to uh, set up my own miso scene, uh, to set up my own camera angles, do my own blocking with my DOP. He wouldn't tell me that you should take this angle, that angle, that angle. Sometimes, if I would go wrong in uh, suggesting a gesture, a sort of reaction that I would want from him as an actor, that is where he would correct me. Uh, like there's a scene in which he's getting stabbed, and how I was filming that. So I think when I was telling that to him that what's going to happen, I was enacting it wrong because I was trying to just tell him how we are framing this, and you will get stabbed, so this is how you have to. I want like I see him reacting, but then he told me that no, when someone gets stabbed or when you get attacked, your body reacts by going front and not back. So that's how he did. So those are the integrities that he brought in, but mostly he stuck to his performances. It was a difficult shoot. It was a tedious shoot. So I mean, a little bit of sometimes tension goes up, but nothing so serious happened. He was very sweet.
Okay. So he was there for 4 days.
He was there for 3 days. He gave me 3 days.
Okay. So, to make a film, like short film, like Autumn Leaf, like what's the approximately budget there? If you can approximately
Uh,
tell, like not the exact.
okay. See, Autumn Leaf was made at a budget of around 3.5 lakhs. That is in total, including like everything from start to end. And I think a lot of my fellow filmmakers will tell you that that is an unimaginably low budget for a short film. So because because I mean majorly because the cast wasn't paid. So uh, all the editors that we worked with, the technicians that we worked with were all starting out. They were all students at that time. So of course the overall professional fees and all of that were low. But I can tell you that today, if I have to make an autumn leaf the same time, it would cost me about 10 lakhs easily or more.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's wow. So let's talk about No Splash, your new film. So
Yeah.
it's not currently available. Am I correct?
No, it's not right now. It's just going through some festival rounds, and I mean, it was like in those festivals there have been online screenings. So like IFSA Toronto, it was screening for a week, I think, on their website. River to River Florence also it was screening for a week. It was available to view online, but on their portal. So, but yeah, not out yet. I'm planning to put it out soon. Splash is a very special film for me. I mean, even after Autumn Leaf, what happened was I could manage uh, doing my filmmaking with my education for a while, but after that, when I got in a job, then it started getting more difficult. Uh, but that fire never, went down or out as such. So I would still devote time writing and but it was just that I couldn't really again produce it or finance it the way I financed Autumn Leaf. I needed producers now. So and I needed a new script as well. And my brother was not helping me anymore. So he got busy in other things. So I was writing, I was trying to come up with new ideas. There was some bad stuff that I wrote, there was some good stuff that I wrote, which is still not made. But I started writing a lot. I spent a lot of time writing. And I think Autumn Leaf was done in 2019 and Splash was made in 2022. So it took a lot of time, and in between that also I made a film during COVID, which I fucked up completely. So I don't really talk about it, but that had happened. But then I made Splash with a vengeance to make a good film and correct my mistakes. So Splash had come to me much earlier before COVID only. It's it's inspired by this silly moment that I had when I was very new to Bombay, and being a huge Shabana Azmi fan, uh, I I I came across a play of her that she is doing in which she is playing three roles, and it's a single person play that she was doing somewhere in Kolaba. And I really wanted to go for it. I thought I would even get to meet her or something. And I booked tickets. I was going for it alone. I used to live in Navi Mumbai, but it was monsoons and it was raining so much that I left. I went to the trains. All trains were cancelled. I looked at buses. All buses were completely, fucked. All routes were fucked. No taxi would take me there, and I was too broke to get an Uber anyway. So, so I just could not make it. There was no way that I could make it. And from the station, I was so disappointed and dejected because I'd been hyping it up among all my friends and family. The So I was so dejected and so low on energy that I just decided to take a walk back home. It was a good long 30-40 minute walk. And I was like, fuck it, I don't want any autos or anything. And in the rain, I just started walking back home. And that walk back home changed a lot of things. So Splash, in a way, is inspired by Splash came to me in that walk back home, and that night I wrote Splash. And it's not the same story. But it is a Mumbai monsoon musical, as I've been calling it, because they've given it a very musical treatment. It's about one character. Uh, but I think I'm personally I was very happy with how Splash happened. I I think I approached it much more professionally. I like uh, like now I could sense on set that I am able to start getting that control that you need, as a director, and I'm able to also keep my set more well managed. I'm able to get the operations right. It was self funded. I had managed to get some savings, and the budget was just slightly lower than Autumn Leaf. Again, it was very indie budget. Prajwal, my friend, came on board to play the role. With him, I've done a street play in IIT. I directed a Hindi street play, and in that, he had worked with me. So he came on board. He had so he was a theater actor. He is a theater actor, and in Kannada. But he had just wrapped the shooting of Madan, the Ajay Devgan film that's I think going to come soon. So he's playing a role in it. And then I told him about Splash, and he was like, he was on board with it. He came to Bombay, gave me a week. He prepped with me so much, and it was, the first for him also to do a lead in the short film or anything. So we worked together. Again, I got a very, very good crew. And in this, I had proper HODs, but in this, I had more friends on set. I had friends in whose house I was shooting. I had friends whose car I was using. I had friends who were doing styling for me, friends who were doing art, but there were proper call sheets. The food was properly managed. So I learned from my mistakes, and I think that is why I am personally, by the end of it, I was very happy with how Splash turned out. Again, after shoot, it took its own sweet time. It took 4 5 months to get the edit over. But sorry, my dog is barking. uh, so so it's it's the story of um, a boy who starts falling in love, and even though he tries to tell himself to not go down that slippery slope again, and it's about his hustle to uh, make things happen around that love of his, and what would happen if it doesn't happen. So uh, it's just a very mental journey of this character going through up and down and up and down and up and down. So it's sort of like that. It's quite interesting. Um in terms of its festival journey, honestly, it's been a little underwhelming. Though I got to, it went to some great festivals. I think like Toronto, Florence, Philadelphia, Yellowstone. So those were some great festivals. Uh, but I had expected more, so I don't know. Maybe somewhere things went wrong. I couldn't crack my dream festivals of for some reason.
What were
So
your
and
dream festivals?
I think Diff is one of my dream festival. Dharmshala, Bangalore as well. Uh, Kerala. So there were some festivals that Autumn Leaf went to, like Kerala, which was one of my one of my favorite festival experiences. As a filmmaker, the respect that they give to filmmakers is unparalleled. Uh, but Splash couldn't go there, so I don't know. I was still trying to figure out. Because mostly in public screenings, I think it's been liked by the audiences. We had a very good screening in Banaras at Manikarnika Film Festival, where it was screened in front of a huge crowd, and people really liked it, related with it. So for some reason, it did not work at the festivals. Maybe, I mean, maybe it's not technically that strong, or I don't think it's a technical thing. Maybe in terms of plot only, it's not that strong that it stays with you like Autumn Leaf through a social message does. Splash is much more simpler, but it has a deeper takeaway as well. It's about loneliness. It's about um, it's about some philosophies of life that you could think of, like things go on and stuff like that. So now my current thought is after Autumn Leaf getting off Hotstar, uh, I'm thinking of putting Splash also on YouTube itself, maybe just on my own channel, and let it find its own audience. Uh, and just I'll market it the way I can, and share it with friends, and hopefully with people like you who could share it with more cinephiles, uh, and maybe get it some eventually. I like the idea of having these films on an open platform, which might be discovered later or when the time is right, or it might get discovered right now as well. So that's my current thought, and I think. Because if you put it on Hotstar or Geo, and then firstly, it's not like they're going to pay. They're not even going to promote. Uh, and then they might have it's a corporate after all, so they have business decisions to make, and a leadership change, a strategy change would just kick your independent film out of there if it just doesn't fit in their content slate after a certain point. So I mean, the best thing about having it on an OTT is a resume pointer. I go in to meetings and say that I have a film on Hotstar, and that just increases my weight in that meeting. But I might as well say that I have it on YouTube, and you should take out time to watch it and see if you like it. So
Like,
that's my
I didn't know, like, they don't pay, like, or they do pay.
yeah. So mostly OTTs get into a revenue share deal with short filmmakers. So it's not an acquisition, outright acquisition sort of a deal where, unless it's unless sometimes you have big stars, or if it's produced under a notable banner, uh, then it does. But for smaller films, like Autumn Leaf is also on a revenue share deal only. So doesn't really, and they don't list it on their homepage or promote it on their social media or anything. For them, it's like we are a giant, you are a kid, so we are taking your film. That's a big deal.
So currently, are you like shooting something or still focusing on Splash?
So currently, I'm not. So I just shot my first ad commercials. I think I'd sent you the link. So it was for a cafe. I shot those ads. I shot three ads for them. In fact, not shot. I wrote and directed those ads. So really had fun working on that. That's a space I am exploring. It's an independent venture, in fact, that I am embarking upon with my partner, and we are trying to create story-driven brand films, uh, and tap into that niche of advertisements, and make it for more brands. So that would that would probably be nice because it challenges your creativity. It also works for the brand. So that's something that I'm very keen on and I'm really focusing on. But apart from that, uh, I'm pitching one short film called Bird Hunters, a script that I really love, and I've narrated it to a few potential producers and collaborators, and I've received really good feedback on it. I'm just it's just that I can't fund my films myself anymore, so I'm looking for an interested producer that I can work on this with. But most importantly, I'm in the middle of writing my first feature film script. So I'm very excited about that. It's called The Sun That Did Not Set. So really excited about how it's turning out, and let's see.
Yeah. So one more thing, like how hard it is to get a producer on board, like
It is quite hard. I mean, see, also it depends. Like if you're making a commercial film, it might be slightly easier, but uh, it might be slightly easier in the sense that most production houses will listen to you. Uh, what's your end objective, as a filmmaker? So, if you're aiming for a theatrical release and a super hit film, uh, then I think you can write something. And again, now that writing is very different. It's that writing has its own, uh, like to write something that will be liked and celebrated by millions of people is difficult. To speak their language is difficult. But the thing is that whenever you're aiming for profits, you will have people to collaborate with, or you'll have people to listen to you. So, because you are giving them profits through your script. So, I think that if you can crack that, nothing like that. Uh, for short films, it's very difficult to find producers unless you have friends, or unless you're just if you have like I know a lot of assistant filmmakers who've been working with successful filmmakers for a while, and then like Anurag Kashyap and all have also funded a lot of their assistants short films and helped them make it. So that's one way of doing it, because short film, you have to understand, I think, as a medium, has not expanded yet, or probably will never expand as a as a viewable medium that an audience will take out the time or look forward to with anticipation for a 15-20 minute short film. It might have worked for large short films in a few of their earlier films, which gained massive views on YouTube. But after that, also, it's just that those films got discovered. After that, you won't really see people. People might see a 20-minute film while traveling, or while they have some free time. But to it, the whole ecosystem around short films is not really created or set up yet anywhere in the world, I would say. So because the economics don't work out, you don't see a clear path to profits. So that's why you don't get funding for it. And you need to find people who will be like, fine, I'll give you this much money, because it also requires much lesser money than a feature film. So people who can fund your passion to help you grow. And eventually, if you can crack festivals and have it as a step on for your feature film projects or series.
uh, like you have said, like you make short films, like in future you could make feature films or work on web series. Like that's
Yeah.
the motive.
Yeah, that's the traditional path, because the audience is in feature films and web series, but and short films is traditionally seen as a learner's medium, as a student filmmaker's medium. Uh, Requires lesser, professional intervention, lesser production needs and all that. But there are filmmakers who sometimes go back to making a short film because they've just come up with a story that can beautifully be told in 20 minutes, and Sometimes, someone like a Sujoy Ghosh or even a Vishal Bhardwaj would come and make a 20-minute short film, and that's great. I mean, that would somehow boost the short film medium as well. But I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. The fact is that we, as a society, are driven by profits and money motives. So art has to blend with commerce. If it doesn't, it won't find its value. That's how it is right
So my last question is like, please do recommend few films and your favorite filmmakers.
now. Sure. Some of One of my most favorite film in Hindi is Oye Lucky Lucky Oye by Dibakar Banerjee. Then I think I also really like Delhi Valley. So a very quirky black comedy that we really haven't seen much of. Um, some films that I take huge inspiration from are Arrival by Villeneuve, uh, Incendies by the same director. In fact, his whole filmography, because I I really struggle at creating such profound drama and conflict at a very, I won't say slow, but at a very regular routine pace without the need of adding uh, exceptional mediums like an extra slow-mo or power it with a huge BG, like a very strong BG track, or just add some very flashy editing. So just a story in its very, very raw and real format. Even if it's the story of aliens coming and talking to us, you still maintain that uh, real life factor in it, which I think amazes me. How Dennis does it is it's just insane. But if I move on from that and go to a proper cinematic experience, then I think I'm a huge Nolan fan. Uh, I mean, I can watch Prestige, I don't know, n number of times. I almost remember it line by line, even Dark Knight Rises, Inception. And I think more than anything, the fact that the emotional conflicts in his film, like it just the emotional range in his film of his protagonists, I that's what that again inspires me as a writer myself to have a scene in which your character, a superhero, is at his lowest inside a well, and he's trying to make that jump, and he has to make that jump, that could kill him or elevate him, and how you build up to that. I mean, that is just incredible. And the fact that you make it as a cinematic experience that everyone will enjoy as well. Same for in Inception, uh, when Maul is in the opposite uh, hotel window, and he's telling her to not jump, and she's like, no, this is a dream, let's jump. And that conflict, that even in Interstellar, when he sees her daughter after so many years. So those emotional ranges, those peaks that Nolan reaches is just incredible and insane. Wong Kar-wai is again a great favorite of mine. In the Mood for Love is something that uh, I love. Linklater, the Before trilogy, I love that. I think those are some that come to my mind right now. And I mean, so, like Iranian filmmakers have always really surprised me. I just saw Monster, and I mean, I was blown away by that as well. And just to add one more film, if I have to add to this list, it's The Monk and the Gun. It's a Bhutanese film that has come this year or last year, I think so. It's
Luan, who made Luana? I'm forgetting the name. Who made
yes, yes,
Luana?
yes. So. I saw it at Mumbai Film Festival, and that is just such a one of the most beautiful films I've seen in many, many years, and I hope it comes to our theaters. And I would please urge everyone to watch it. It's amazing. Uh, Stop getting bothered by what's going on in the industry uh, around you, or what's going on even around you. Uh, you know, because everyone keeps asking whoever a student filmmaker or an aspiring filmmaker, while I'm aspiring myself, whoever I meet, they ask me what college should I join, who should I assist, what do I do, what should be my next step. I think you have to understand at its core what is it that you're trying to be as a filmmaker. It is that you're a storyteller. So work on your world view. Just work on your worldview. How do you see a tree? What what do you note when you see the sea waves? What all things can you see when you're just traveling in a bus or talking to friends? Maybe develop a bigger picture, maybe develop a smaller picture, a worldview, and that would enable better storytelling. And all the other technicalities and everything will just you know fall by and support you. They will all get aligned. Just become a better viewer of the world.
Kishit, thank you so much for joining the podcast. It's so lovely to be able
Thank
to talk to
you.
you.
I
Yeah,
think
it
I
was great.
spoke a lot. I did not let you speak.
No, 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 you did great. Like, I'm that person who doesn't speak.